This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
One year has passed since South Africa did the continent proud by winning their third Rugby World Cup title in Japan. On tonight's Sports Scene, we walk down memory lane with the heroes of the historic triumph and their adoring fans, in addition to bringing you other sports stories from around Africa. Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is Sports Scene here on CGTN. I'm Mahia Mutua in Nairobi, also coming up on the program. Cheptegei and Kiplimo establish Uganda as a global force in distance running. And South Africa's Zirk Botha to attempt 7,000-kilometer Cape Town to Rio solo boat ride to raise awareness on pollution and climate change. Now, South Africa's 32-12 victory over England in the final of the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan is now a distant memory in the middle of the global pandemic, but a year on, members of the winning squad look back on the historic moment with fond memories. CS du Plessis kicks us off.
The Springboks returned home to the Rainbow Nation after claiming a record-equaling third World Cup triumph to a hero's welcome. From their arrival to the countrywide trophy tour, South Africans embraced the newly crowned world champions, much to the delight of captain Siya Kolisi, who acknowledges that being the best team in the world comes with added responsibility.
It did change our lives, you know, and it's all about like what you do with that platform. And I think that platform should be shared, you know, by working as hard as you can to uplift others and help others around you, and use this opportunity to help the nation, hopefully, and give the hope that I wanted to give to the young kids that never had the hope, and now they've seen that all this stuff is achievable.
For hooker Malcolm Marx, the unbelievable experience will live on in his memory forever. But he maintains he is still the same guy that boarded the plane to the tournament in Japan in 2019.
Yeah, experiencing something like that and being able to be part of a squad like that and coaching staff like that was unbelievable. I think I've learned a lot in terms of the experience, and I think me as a person, I haven't changed at all, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's about the team. It wasn't actually just about the team, it was about the whole country. So yeah, not much has changed for me, to be honest, but except the fact that there's a World Cup medal at home.
Tendai beast Mtarira retired after the World Cup and says he still needs to pinch himself when people approach him in the streets of his home city of Durban.
I worked so hard, for it for so long. So, yeah, man, I can tell you that for a fact. When I walk in the streets, everybody's like, it's like it happened yesterday. They're still so happy, So they kind of walk up to me and just say, "Thank you so much. Thank you for winning the World Cup for us, because it meant so much." And it's just not just South Africans. It's all Africans, from everywhere that appreciated, the Springboks winning last year, and how much inspiration and hope it gave.
Sharks captain Lukhanyo, who combined with Magazolo and Pimpy for one of the tournament's best tries, believes the pressure is on the men in green and gold now to prove why they were crowned world champions.
There are a lot of players that are involved in the World Cup, that are back at their franchises, and they'll definitely bring confidence, in players, within their teams. And I think as South Africans, there's also a responsibility, as number one in the world, and I think we need to uplift that and live that standard.
There'll be no official test for the reigning world champions in 2020. It's not all doom and gloom though for rugby fans, who will at least get to see the locally based Springboks like World Cup winners Siya Kolisi and Lukhanyo battling it out in two domestic competitions, something that has become a rarity over the past few seasons. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Johannesburg.
And still in South Africa, celebrations that greeted the country's record-equaling third Rugby World Cup victory went on for weeks before the party came to a halt when COVID-19 hit. Julie Shire tells us more.
South Africa erupted with jubilation when their beloved Springboks demolished England to be crowned Rugby World Cup champions for a record third time in 2019. A year on, a lot has changed because of COVID-19, but the moment lives forever for die-hard fans stationed Gaboinewe.
It was something unique. You know, sometimes you just share a tear. Politics were aside. It was very, 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 very good. And you know, sometimes you just wish we could have things like this, even in soccer, so that we could all be united. It is one of the moments when you, as a citizen, you feel so proud to be a part of the nation.
The emphatic victory over England put Siya Kolisi among an elite group of triumphant captains. He also made history by being the first black skipper to lead a World Cup winning side.
When Siya Kolisi lifted the trophy, it meant we as black people can do whatever we want. We know what we want in our lives, and it brought up South Africa as a country that knows what they could do and inspire other people.
Oh, I just want to be him one day. I just want to play like him. Like, I just want to lift the trophy like the way like he did when he lifted the trophy on World Cup.
Rugby fever gripped the country for several weeks as the triumphant Boks paraded their trophy through the streets of South Africa.
So the Springboks as a collective, them playing gave me the motivation that we can do it as a country. We can change our backgrounds because our backgrounds are not the same on the field, but we have a common goal of coming together just for the country and for the sport we love.
Even if you were hopeless, looking at him, it starts to give you hope. And so, you know what? If Siya could make it through thick and thin and through minimal resources, then anybody could do it.
Celebrations came to a halt when COVID-19 hit, and the Boks have not played at home since. Fans are eager to see their champions in action once again. Julie Shara, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
On to Kenya, where after losing to Namibia as the other African representative to both the 2015 and 2019 Rugby World Cup editions, the country appointed ex-international Paul Odera to coach the 15s team. With an eye on a maiden qualification to the 2023 World Cup, Mohamed Abubakar caught up with Odera and started by asking him what the Springboks' victory meant for Africa.
Well, I think for the continent, a great sense of pride. It even brought tears to many people's eyes, because if an African country achieves something on the global stage, it's a sense of pride for us all. In terms of an impact on African rugby, I don't think it's had much in terms of impacting the game across the continent. Because South Africa, in a way, are considered first world in terms of rugby, so in terms of funding, even who they play. Because you don't even see South African teams, too many South African teams coming to play 15s here. So in terms of making any structural changes to rugby in Africa, outside South Africa, I don't think it would be much. But in terms of pride, as Africans, yes, for sure. That was a great source of pride for all of us.
Coach, Namibia has always been the other African representative in the past editions. You as the Kenyan coach, how do you plan to topple Namibia and take Kenya to their first ever World Cup?
It's about the culture. We will not going to compete financially. We won't even be as big as Namibia, for sure. If you see some of those huge Namibian players, 6'10", 6'8", 125 kilos. So the first step has been to actually set up a very firm culture and a value system within the Simbas. So it's got to be something that is unshakable and strong, that the boys believe in, that we all believe in as management. So that's been the first step. So that when we have that, it doesn't matter whether we're playing in Kenya or whether we're playing away, that is what is going to carry us through. And then the second thing has been to try and use data to be able to select the best Kenyan team of rugby players across the world. So whether we have players in Australia, whether we have players in South Africa, whether we have players in England, and even here in Kenya. So it's now to set up a database and to set up a system of analysis so that it's the best players who can run on the field to represent Kenya.
Coach, I have to bring this in. You were the first Kenyan coach to beat Namibia at under-20 level and actually won the under-20 Bathurst Cup last year. What are the lessons you take from that campaign you had with the under-20s to the senior team now?
That's an interesting question. So what lessons there? One is we need to blend, not even we need to blend, that I want to blend the types of players we get in Kenya. You know, we have our settler community who play rugby from when they're very young. Then we have people who maybe don't start the game until quite late and may not be as skillful, but they're very hard, you know, very strong mentally. So to blend, that makes of the different types of players, to blend different races, and also to blend different ethnic groups. So what I found is if you can create synergy within such differences, then it becomes very strong. So that's one lesson I've picked up from there. The second lesson, of course, is from what we learned in Brazil when we went to the JWRT, which is that high performance rugby is about meticulous planning and attention to every detail. I mean, I was fortunate to be in the same hotel with Japan. So I watched how they plan for every meal, how they plan for every training session. You know, they have what you call an advanced party before they even train. So people go before the rest of the team and they set up everything or check if everything is in place. So those are some of the lessons we've picked up and many other little bits. But the sum total of being a high performance team is doing the little minute details correctly, and then that builds into the big picture.
Well, South Africa's victory in Japan inspired other top African nations to aim for the next edition in 2023, and the Tunisian rugby team has resumed training after preparations were interrupted by the pandemic. The country is ranked 39th in the world with over 15,800 registered players and 72 clubs. Here's Adnan Shawashi with more.
Noureddin Amara is the technical director for the Tunisian rugby team. Amara supervises the training and preparations of dozens of domestic and international players who dream of qualifying to the Rugby World Cup 2023.
The interruption of training due to the pandemic did not prevent the players from following a strict program at home set by the Tunisia Rugby Federation. Being one of Africa's top teams is our objective for the next season in order to prepare for the next World Cup.
The Tunisian rugby team will take part in the upcoming Rugby Maghreb Cup. The tournament will take place in France on November 28th. The national coach says the matches in Europe will help the team prepare for the next Rugby Africa Cup.
We are trying to adapt to the latest changes in the calendar of international tournaments. Tunisian players are successful in Africa where the level is very high. However, it's challenging to remain fit and ready for official matches without playing friendly matches abroad.
The vice president of the Tunisian Rugby Federation, as well as former international players, assert that the development of this popular sport is facing many difficulties in the North African country.
More and more youth are practicing rugby, but we lack the right infrastructure. It is a real handicap because some Tunisian clubs do not even have a stadium.
I've been playing rugby for 2 decades. I learned the rules in my neighborhood. It's becoming a popular game in Tunisia. The state must invest in this sport to achieve good results.
The Tunisian Rugby Federation has imposed a strict health protocol at all stadiums and clubs. Officials say the health and safety of the athletes and the technical staff is a shared priority and responsibility. According to the Tunisian Rugby Federation, there are 64 Tunisian players in France. In fact, over 95% of professional rugby men in the North African country have joined foreign clubs in the past 7 years. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
You're watching Sports Scene here on Africa on CGTN. Here's what's coming up after this short break. Cheptegei and Kiplimo establish Uganda as a global force in distance running.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Adventure, Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Johannesburg,
Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. We return with athletics, where Joshua Cheptegei and Jacob Kiplimo have completed the most successful year for Uganda's distance running with 3 world records and a world half marathon title. The duo's success is establishing the East African nation as an emerging powerhouse in the sport. Leon Senyange now reports.
A hero's welcome to Uganda's medal winners. Much of the praise is reserved for Joshua Cheptegei. The 24-year-old currently holds 4 world records, 2 in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters track races, as well as the 5 and 10-kilometer road races, all earned in just 11 months.
This inspires me to reach for more greatness in the years to come, and I hope that I can achieve my dream of becoming one of the greats in the world.
His success has drawn a lot of admiration at home.
He's the best runner we have at the moment in the world, and definitely I don't know anyone who can challenge him. He's been on the road, he's been on the track. Where can't he win now?
We also feel proud of him because whenever he opens the door for us, then at least we come along.
And coming along is compatriot Jacob Kiplimo. The 19-year-old is also seeing an upward trajectory in his running career. He is already a 2020 World Half Marathon gold medalist. He has set his sights on the Olympics too.
Everyone is now just focusing. Even me, I'm just focusing for Olympics. I'm going to prepare.
The Ugandan duo is shaking up long-distance running, a sport usually dominated by Kenya and Ethiopia. There's been a lot of hard yards put in over the years.
We used to have good athletes for the past time, but we were not maintaining them to that top level. Like as in now, we have Joshua, Jacob, and more others coming. The bunch is a little bit big, but I must appreciate that these athletes are motivated. They are now really energized and encouraged.
2020 has already been a good year for Joshua and Jacob. There will be more to fight for in 2021. The two runners have already proven their capabilities, and Uganda will be looking at the champion duo for Olympic success next year. Barring any misfortunes, Cheptegei and Kiplimo remain the odds-on favorites to carry gold. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Over the border now, the KEINO Classic meeting held earlier this month in Nairobi amid the global pandemic showcased Africa's ability to successfully host future World Athletics Challenge Tour events. Organizers are now looking forward to making it an annual fixture on the international calendar, as Mohamed Abubakar now reports.
On the 3rd of October 2020, Kenya hosted the first post-pandemic international athletics meeting in Africa. The KEINO Classic marked another milestone in the global distance running powerhouse, despite being postponed twice due to the pandemic. Named after the country's retired distance running icon and 2-time Olympic champion, it was the 3rd World Athletics event to be held in the country. It followed the then IAAF Mombasa 2007 World Cross and Nairobi 2017 World Under-18 Championships.
It has been very difficult. We have come this far, but I'm really thankful that the Global Organizing Committee, the support from the government, and also World Athletics and Colosso team, that they came here to assist us. And we are very happy about that. And sure, this is a first-class meet.
30 nations with 97 professional athletes from outside Kenya took part in the race for top honors at Nairobi's Nyayo National Stadium. With a limited number of 2,500 fans, the meet marked the first event where supporters were allowed in Kenya since the suspension of sporting activity in March. Stringent COVID-19 protocols were in place, but this did not dampen the enthusiasm amongst athletes who took part.
I think it's been smooth, it's been amazing.
you guys have done, you've pulled out all the stops, you know. I felt so at home. Food's been good, hotel's amazing, venue's good, track's fast, you know, you can't ask for more. You guys have been so welcoming and I'd love to come back and race here again.
That's why I'm so happy, because it's a bigger event in Africa, and I wasn't really ready for it, but I knew I was going to run first time, and appreciating that I'm in a bigger competition now.
Competitors are now looking forward to return next year, underlining the success and appeal of the meeting.
I think I can give them credit, sababu this is the first race. You know, sometimes inakuwa ni impossible to organize the first race iko hivi. So we do expect from next year itakuwa smart sana kuliko this year.
This is nice. Like after Doha, we were considering that my last, and then we found out there was a 800 in Nairobi. So my manager contacted them and got me to do it. And plus, I have family here. My grandma lives here, so my cousin was actually here watching me today.
For years, Africa has been fighting for chances to host high-level international competitions. And with Kenya hosting a competition of such magnitude during the pandemic, there is no limit to what can be achieved next.
Of course, you know, after this, we will now look at what we have done so far and we project. First thing we need to do now is to get the date for the next event. We are given 3 years for the event. And after that, we will now ask maybe World Athletes to give us for the bigger one, the Diamond League, to come to this country.
The KEINO Classic was a good rehearsal for Kenya, which is expected to host the World Under-20 Championships that were postponed to next year. Mohammed Abubakar, CGTN.
Well, let's get more insights into this. Earlier, I spoke with CGTN Sadiq Shaban from Eldoret in Kenya's Rift Valley, and I began by asking him what impact hosting an event like the KEINO Classic will have on Kenyan athletics.
Mahia, as you're aware, Athletics Kenya and the government of Kenya says Kenya is in fact very lucky to have hosted a round of the World Athletics Continental Tour, which was largely disrupted this year by the outbreak of coronavirus pandemic and COVID-19. In this competition, certainly we saw a lot of Kenyan pro elite athletes who had a chance to compete for the very first time in a long time at home, competing on Kenyan soil. A lot of Kenyans are used to seeing their global stars competing elsewhere around the world, but very few times in fact at home. So this had an immediate connection between the public and their athletes and their competitors at home. Of course, we didn't have a lot of spectators in this competition, certainly because of health protocols, but the event lived up to its billing during this time. We saw really very tough competitions, and a lot of athletes also who came in from around the world were able to compete with Kenyans at the altitude of in Nairobi, and which was a major shot for Kenyan athletics, which has been plagued by a lot of problems in the recent past. And Kenyan athletes really put up a good show at home, and this goes a long way to show the kind of missing opportunities that Kenyan athletics has been yearning for a long time. And the athletes, in fact, are calling on the World Athletics Governing Body to increase this kind of competitions, not just in Kenya, but around Africa, to give athletes from this region and around the world a chance to compete in Africa, because it's quite prohibitive and expensive to go around the world to compete in this series. So the full impact of what KEINO Classic did this year, Mahia, will be felt in a number of days, months, if you will, to come. But athletes who had never had an opportunity to compete this year globally due to travel restrictions had a moment to serve in Nairobi, and I know they will remember this competition for a long time to come.
Now, we have seen recently Uganda continue to grow into a dominant force in distance running, whilst Kenya seems to be turning in the opposite direction. Why exactly is this the case?
I've been speaking to athletes here, managers and coaches, and they say the problems that Kenya has been having in terms of anti-doping rule violations and the distraction caused by the many cases that have come up in the last 3 years has had an impact on Kenyan athletics in terms of the results. And you cannot see that Uganda and other countries are now taking advantage to fill that gap. Coaches are saying athletes have become a little bit timid, not so sure about what's happening, and some are, holding back. But importantly, Mahia, we've had a lot of Kenyan athletes who are world champions, Olympic champions, who have been sanctioned for anti-doping rule violations and who have missed opportunities to compete in these races that have been won by Uganda and other athletes from around Africa, including Ethiopia. Certainly since John Akibua won the first gold medal for Uganda in the 1972 Munich Olympic Games, Uganda has not had something to cheer for in terms of competition medals, apart from very recently Ndiema Kipsiro in Commonwealth 5,000 meters and Stephen Kiprotich, who won a gold medal in 2012 Olympics as well as the 2013 World Championship. So the resurgence seen by the likes of Kiplimo, the resurgence seen by the likes of Cheptegei, is just a small indication of perhaps the untapped potential that Uganda has had over a period of time. But importantly, it exposes the depth of the rot, if you will, that the anti-doping rule violation and doping in Kenyan athletics has caused, with the elimination and sanctions of many Kenyan athletes who have missed an opportunity to compete in these events that have been won by competitors.
Finally, South Africa's Zirk Botha will attempt to navigate from Cape Town to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil by board to raise awareness on pollution and climate change. The former naval combat officer will have only the natural elements and his own instincts to rely on while making the risky trip. Julie Shire visited Zirk in Simonstown to talk about his upcoming adventure.
I'm Zirk Botha. I love adventure sports, adventure challenges, something that takes me out of my comfort zone, but also draws on my skill set from past experiences. I served in the South African Navy for 17 years as a combat officer. So through that period, I've learned a lot about the sea, weather prediction. I expect it again to be a very deep and meaningful experience. I'm anticipating around 100 days from Cape Town to Rio. I'm hoping to do it in less, but nature doesn't abide by our rules. Being an adventure sportsman, somebody that gets out into the wilderness and the wild, it's a unique experience. And comparing that to going into areas where it's polluted, we have plastic, we have pollution from fossil fuel, comparing the two environments just doesn't sit well. Putting these two together allows me to create a window where I can showcase the benefits of renewable energy on the planet. So by using my Road to Rio campaign, I will be totally reliant on renewable energy, solar panels, to provide energy for all my equipment, which my life will depend on. The boat has been designed by a naval architect, so it's been designed to be able to handle rough seas. It's based on the same principle of a life raft, so it's self-righting. So if I am in a storm and the boat rolls over, it will pop up the right way around again. When I sleep, I will be strapped in with safety belts in case there's a freak wave or the weather is rough. There's a host of safety equipment and technology that I will use to assist with my safety and being prepared for what could happen. I will have a desalinator running off renewable energy, my radio equipment, my safety equipment, my bilge pumps, should I ever get into a situation where the boat is flooded. All of that will be 100% reliant on renewable energy. I'm not going in blind. I know it's a huge challenge, it's unpredictable, but I'm not scared.
Zirk is hard at work preparing for his wild adventure across the Atlantic Ocean. He leaves Cape Town on the 1st of December. Julie Shara, CGTN, Simonstown, South Africa.
And that's it for this edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send your feedback to the contacts on your screen now and give us a follow on our digital media platforms. I'm Mahia Mutua. Thanks for watching. See you again, same time next week.